goodness me, I'm blinding myself. Walking into a bright light. Touch and go, touch and go. We know what that means if there's a little gap, just a little gap. Which is why, oh, slapped by my camera bag. But shh, don't tell anyone. I'm wearing shorts and that wind is going places you don't want to know about. Well, good morning and welcome back to the channel. Oh my goodness me, I'm blinding myself. Hang on, 2 minutes. Just realised I was kind of walking, I still kind of am, walking into a bright light and realising, hang on a minute, I'm pretty sure this path just falls off into the sea in a minute. So touch and go, touch and go. Still at Ramore Head. Ramore Head? Not even slightly, Nigel. Fanat Head. Where I was last night for me, last week for you. And the wind has got up quite a lot. Again, apologies for not looking at the camera, but it would be really good not to fall off the edge here. So there's a huge bank of cloud moving in from the south, being brought on by a weather system out in the Atlantic. It hasn't quite made it all the way out sort of northeast, and so we have a potential now, obviously, because we have quite a lot of cloud overhead. We know what that means if there's a little gap, just a little gap, as the man says. It's kind of one of those situations where I'm not overly hopeful, 25% hopeful, but let's face it, all we need is 1% hopeful, 99% wondering why we're up at 4:15 in the morning. Oh. Right, well, I'm going to stop gibbering and I'm going to see whether I can set myself up with something. Not quite sure whether, because obviously where the sun is rising, we will get a little bit of light streaking across both the lighthouse and hopefully some of those hills behind the lighthouse. And it might light up some of the clouds, but it's a lighthouse. I'm not sure whether it's my bag or do I kind of go for something a little bit more me, maybe? I don't know. Or maybe we will just put our cards into the lighthouse. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. Let's see whether we can get set something up. So apologies for any wind noise, trying to shelter you from most of the wind which is coming right in my face, which is why, oh, I just got slapped by my camera bag. Oh. Anyway, I have decided to shoot the lighthouse. Couldn't ignore some of these. It's almost, I mean, if you've ever been here, you know yourself, the rocks here just lend themselves to kind of portrait images, just really taken in. Now, as I say, my 35 to 70 lens wouldn't be the widest. I think if you had a wider lens, I think you can really make use of some of the lovely sort of lines and textures. But yeah, so just going to try to make use of these lines in the rocks and focus on the lighthouse, at least until we start getting a little bit of light. I don't really want to shoot just directly out onto the horizon. I'd rather sort of focus on something that was being illuminated by the sun. Now obviously, because I'm looking for that illumination of the rising sun, and even before the sun rises, off some of the reflections in the clouds, anything that has the sort of rock face sort of directly in front of me and really sort of catching most of that early morning light. No filters on at the moment, giving me at about a 15-16 second exposure. And of course, as that ambient light starts to rise, that will start to drop, and then we'll probably put on a little 3-stop or something. But for now, little shot to get us going for the morning, while also holding onto my tripod, trying not to have things fall over. There be the lighthouse. So I'll put this image up. It's about half an hour or so before sunrise. The clouds in behind the lighthouse haven't taken on a huge amount of colour at the moment, but we'll see how that develops. So I'll put this image up and we'll see what else we can find. So I've just been playing around with a couple of compositions. The sun on the horizon, or the clouds on the horizon, are starting to take on some lovely colour. But whether or not, because there seems to be a sort of a bank on there, the clouds over the lighthouse are going to take on any colour. It's difficult to tell. I think I've probably got two compositions, a horizontal and a vertical, that I may rush between if we start to get any sort of light on these rocks. Again, trying to maximise the surface area. Now, unlike last night for me, last week for you, where I was trying to include a lot of the thrift, because we've got a lot more wind today, I'm not quite sure whether the thrift works from a movement point of view. It does give just a little sort of blast of purpley colour. So it's still going to be in the frame, but maybe not making maximum use of it like we were last week. The other thing, obviously, as I'm sure everyone is aware who shot here before, quite often you'll have quite a lot of vehicles in and around the lighthouse, and so just being careful not to include any of those. But I think we're hopefully going to get sunrise. I think it's about 10 minutes away. Now the clouds definitely up over me here are starting to take. So we can hope that a little bit of light on the foreground rocks, a little bit of light on the side of the lighthouse, and of course those clouds taking on some colour. But I'll go ahead and put up another one of these pre-sunrise images while we try to fine-tune an image as that sun hopefully breaks through the cloud on the horizon. Ooh, I'm trying not to get blown over. The clouds now on the horizon are really starting to take, and I can start to see colour happening here as well. Something tells me that things are going to kick off for a little while, so apologies if you don't hear back from me for a while, even though the magic of television, I'll be back in seconds. But I reckon we're going to get a little bit of colour in those clouds above us. It's about now trying to stay calm-ish and not do two things. Not F up the composition because I've been a bit too panicky, and two, not fall off the edge because, well, actually, if I'm not back anytime soon, I clearly fell off the edge. Anyway, enough rambling. Those clouds are starting to take. Right, back when the madness is over. So the pre-sunrise colour didn't develop above the lighthouse as much as I would have wanted to, but the clouds actually to the left of the lighthouse, as I'm looking at it, are stunning. So I think for now I'm going to be shooting in a horizontal portrait. Now the sun is just starting to rise over the very edge sort of northern Donegal there, so hopefully we're going to start getting some sort of direct light on some of these rocks. But I think for now it's going to be horizontal because the clouds kind of over, as you can see, to my left or to my right are just beautiful. Right, so here comes that sun. We are now starting to get a little bit of lovely side light on the lighthouse, and hopefully with a little bit of a second blast of that sun, the clouds actually above the lighthouse start to take as well. But some gorgeous textures in those clouds. Woo, 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 woo. And we almost got blown over again. So I've actually turned my attention away from the lighthouse now. Now I reckon we're actually going to lose the direct sunlight in probably the next 10-15 minutes. So I'm just having a little bit of a play with sort of what the sun is reflecting off. The reason why I turned my attention away from the lighthouse, if I just swing you around quickly, you can probably see that above the lighthouse we started to lose both colour from the clouds and also the clouds themselves. So it was time to maybe turn my attention. Now that sun is starting to, even while I'm talking to you, starting to disappear behind some of those clouds. So I'm actually just playing about with a couple of compositions that are taking in the surfaces that are reflecting off the clouds. Nothing really out on the horizon, and certainly no colour out on the horizon, so whether it works or not. But It might be a case of maybe turning my attention to maybe just one last little intimate scene, but you never know. Anyway, I'll put this image up from the first non-lighthouse image of the vlog, and we'll see whether we can get one more shot of the morning. Because I can think. Sometimes people would question that. I think there is coffee. Oh, I'm wearing shorts, and that wind is going places you don't want to know about. I think it'll soon be time for coffee. Well, that, as they say, is that from Fanad Head this morning. That sun has now disappeared in behind a pretty heavy bank of clouds, and coming fast behind me, I think we're being clouded out for most of the day. Might be another chance for some images tonight. We're obviously moving on from here now, but beautiful. One of those situations where windy, hang on. It was one of those situations where in the van this morning I was looking out, lots of cloud overhead, looking at the weather forecast, lots of cloud forecast, but you just gotta take a chance, especially when you're parked up no more than like 100 meters from where I'm shooting right now. But yeah, I think we're due a lot of cloud coming in for the rest of today, so I think it's going to be more of just a driving moochie. Might even go for a run day, although we are due quite strong winds about sort of mid-morning. But for now, I think it's time for a coffee. The Wild Atlantic Way is stunning. Don't get me wrong, I think the Causeway Coast has got its charms, absolutely. It's beautiful, being my local spot as well. But this area, I haven't been up here now in about 18 months, no, more than 18 months, since pre-COVID times, when I used to run kind of residential workshops in this area. And I forgot just how incredible the sort of northwest Donegal coastline is. It's absolutely beautiful. And a whole mix of different sort of landscapes in terms of rock features. And of course you've got some beautiful lighthouses as well. And some stunning beaches. But shh, don't tell anyone. Anyway guys, well, once again, thanks a lot for following along. And I'm assuming next week we will be somewhere else in Donegal as we continue this little mini tour of the Wild Atlantic Way. And it's always a bonus when the camera has been packed away, and on a windy morning like this morning, it hasn't blown into the sea, or in fact, you haven't blown into the sea either. Right, coffee time. Last images of the morning, and we'll catch up next week. Take care. Bye-bye.